one and all. I, Namrata Mishra, will be your host of the evening. Today, Bhumika Trust is conducting a panel discussion on the topic of digitalization of harassment. Know where the line is. Many people in the world have to face harassment and bullying at some point of their life, either at school, colleges, or at the offices. But nowadays, as technology has been enhanced, few people have started using the technology in a wrong way for their so-called fun. The thing they consider fun is actually a mental torture for someone else. These days, the harassment or bullying, which used to be only at workplace or colleges or school, has also been invading the personal space of few people through computers or mobiles or social media platforms or uh, chat rooms, which in other words is also known as cyber harassment or cyberbullying, which has different ranges, like from posting hateful comments on social media platforms or uh, sending hateful comments or words to someone, etc. and etc. To talk more on the subject, I would like to introduce to all of you the keynote of today's discussion, Ms. Sakshi Khanna. She is the assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science, Ramlal Anand College, University of Delhi. She has done her bachelor's of BSc honors in 2006 and masters of computer application in 2009. Good evening, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Very good evening to one and all present here. Let me share my screen. Can you please enable the screen sharing option? The screen sharing is disabled right now. Can you please enable it? Yeah. Is my screen visible? Can any one of you please confirm? Is my screen visible?
No, ma'am, not yet.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible, but the screen sharing is basically taking some time.
I have shared. Okay. Just wait 1 minute.
Yes, ma'am, I think you can start now. The screen is visible.
Visible now. So let me start. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, but the screen share has been stopped.
I think somebody has. Okay. No problem. I'll start. will be visible to you in just a moment. So today I would talk it actually limited to the realities and has
Sakshi ma'am, I
penetrated
guess there is some network lag, so your
every
screen is not visible.
demography. So cybercrime today encompasses of our lives, including I think, am I audible properly?
Sakshi ma'am, there is some network lag, so your voice is breaking. So maybe you can reconnect
Am I?
again. No, not clearly.
So till then, the speaker, the keynote speaker comes back. Namrata, I would request you to ask the next speaker to come in and just speak it up until she gets the internet issues fixed up.
Okay, why not?
Namrata, ma'am is connecting again. So she has requested that I'll continue, and I guess I'll take up next, and then ma'am will continue. She's reconnecting again.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay, just let me know if my screen is visible.
Okay,
And I
ma'am.
have the sharing rights, I guess.
Okay, ma'am.
Just let me.
Yeah, ma'am, your screen is visible also.
Okay, so by the time Sakshi ma'am is connecting, I'll just start. And
Yes, ma'am.
so she'll be connecting in few minutes. Okay, so a very good evening to everyone present here. So myself, Shikha Verma from Department of Computer Science, Ramlal Anand College. And I would be giving a brief of how the online harassment and digitalization of harassment is taking place and how these platforms are being used for different purposes. So obviously there is a line where you need to know where to stop and what to use in digitalization. So according to the Hindu report, the survey states that 8 out of 10 people in India have experienced some form of online harassment. So, with 41% of women being experienced sexual harassment in cyberspace, and these are some of the most common harassment, which includes abuse and insults. So, malicious gossips, rumors, malicious comments, or threats on social media, including trolling and attacks or abuse from a coordinated group. So, under the IT Act 2000, online harassment is used as an umbrella term to describe the use of internet to harass, threaten, or maliciously embarrass another party. It can be in the form of verbal, emotional, or social abuse and aimed at a person, a group of person, or even an organization. According to the advanced research in digital forensics and cybersecurity, cyber stalking is an act that entails several activities of online harassment meant to terrorize the victim. So, for instance, keeping a tab on the victim's online activities, sending them threats, or any kind of messages that are unsolicited, and emails. So, all are considered under this. So we have section 354D of IPC that deals with the stalking in all forms. So if a man continues his attempts to pursue a woman via internet, email, or any other form of electronic communication without the consent. So it is important that without the consent, if that particular information or email or any other form of electronic communication is done, then the person, he can be jailed for 3 years if the offense is being committed for the first time. For the first time means on, and also on repeating the crime, he can be awarded a 5-year jail sentence. So he may be liable to pay fine regardless of whether it's a first time or second offense. And these days, the most common targeted websites or applications for creating fake profiles that are generally used and are most common are Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So I would also like to put a light on these two activities, or I would say trolling or doxing. And what are these is, both these activities do not have any specific law that are covered, but yes, you can file a complaint against these two. Okay, so trolling is when a victim gets concerned on the social media or an online activity community when the perpetrators send messages in order to provoke them into emotional upsetting response. And doxing is when a victim's personal information, it can be any document, but when any kind of document is shared on the internet without the consent. Okay, so this information may be used for any kind of fraud, such as prolonged harassments or prank calls. So, however, Section 499 of IPC, which is mentioned above, it protects victim against harassment through remarks on social media on any of the platforms or by posting photographs that could be the case. So even Section 507 of the IPC, which addresses any individual whose intention is intimate women or threaten them anonymously, could be under them. So the person can be jailed for 2 years. So the main point is, how do I file the complaint, or if any particular person faces the criteria, so how they can approach and different parties on, or which platform they can approach. So a complaint can be filed in the cyber cell or in these three places, and it can be located in any of the cities. So as per the ARDC, you can approach 3 places in any city to lodge a complaint against the suspect. First is the cyber cell. So they have been established especially to deal with the victims of cyber crimes. So they come under the cyber investigation department. And in case a cyber cell is lacking where you are residing, so you can also go and launch an FIR at the local police station. And if you are unable to file an FIR, you can approach the police commissioner, and it is compulsory, and the police station will definitely register an FIR. The National Commission of Women also takes care of and you can approach them and you can file the complaint. So this organization offers services to help victims of online harassment that deals with police. The commission has the power to set up an inquiry committee which is empowered to conduct spot injuries, collect evidences, interrogate witnesses, and summon the accused. The last is, you can report on social media websites. There are websites where you can, it's easier to approach. You can just file your complaint on the social media websites and you can report the crime. And since they are obliged under the IT rules of 2011 to take the action within 36 hours of reporting the complaint from spreading. So another important question is there anything that you need to keep in mind before you go and you file a complaint? So definitely, since all these cases are of cybercrime and that deals with digital the digital witnesses or the information on either on your phones, your laptops, and your mobile phones, your emails. So these things like photographs, emails, and every kind of information can be a part of evidence. So you can just what you need to do is, especially you don't delete the evidences, just keep a copy of the evidences, since that can be used and that can trace the evidences in virtual world. So just save the information. So also what you can do is, do consider taking the screenshot. So if I talk of, let's suppose I have some photographs or even a Facebook chat or something like this. So what I need to consider is, take out the screenshots, take the screenshots, take out the printout for the evidences, and report the incident with the proof. So you just take the proof of the incident and you can file the complaint along with the evidences. So even if you're going for the FIR, or if you are going for even the cyber cell, so what they do is, they take the evidences for your support. They just take the evidences and they can proceed with the all the proofs that you are saving by your side. So this is it from my side. And thank you all. Thank you for inviting me for this talk. And if you have any questions, you are most welcome. Any questions?
Yeah, so any questions? I think so we can take in the chat boxes as of now.
Sure.
And I would request Namrata if you could take the next speaker on board now.
Yes, why not?
Yeah.
I think Sakshi ma'am is back. Is Sakshi ma'am is back, or should I call the next speaker?
No, Sakshi ma'am is not there. I think so, as I am able to see it. If she is
Sakshi ma'am
from
is
her,
there.
is she there? Okay.
Yeah, there is a one Sakshi. Is she
No.
Is she ma'am or
No.
Sakshi ma'am is there, so she, I guess she can hear us.
I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Yes, you're
Yeah, you're audible, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Please continue.
Okay. There is network outage at my end, so let me try again. So, just to let me know if my screen is visible or not. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I hope more now. Am I? Please confirm. Shikha, I'm audible?
Yes, ma'am. But your voice is breaking again. Screen is visible, screen is fine, so we can see this slides also.
Okay.
Yeah, you are audible, ma'am. You're clear. It's clear now.
Let me try.
If
Is it
I'm
now
seeing,
okay?
ma'am, your voice is breaking. So if you could share these PPT with any of the like the host or
So,
with any of other one, so they can present and you can speak it up.
I topic it's not actually limited to.
Yeah, so Namrata, until she comes back, I think so. Taking the next guest, let's not leave them
Okay.
waited too much
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. So now due to the network issue, as Sakshi ma'am is unable to connect, now I would like to call upon our guest speaker, Mr. Daniel Abdullah, an advocate practicing in Delhi High Court and has done his bachelor's in BSc Computer Science and LLB and Masters of Law from University of Delhi. Welcome, sir. Over to you, sir. Hello, Daniel, sir.
Sir, you're actually muted, so
So please unmute yourself.
Yeah, so Mr. Daniel, sir, I've just asked you to unmute yourself. Can you please do
Hello.
that?
Am
Yeah,
I
yeah,
audible
sir.
now?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yes. See, I just joined the discussion, so I'm a little bit trying to get the context. So can I pass this discussion right now and then get back later? Hello.
Yes,
Yeah, definitely,
yes,
sir. Definitely, not an issue.
definitely.
Yeah, we can
Not an
take
issue, sir.
yeah the another panelist that we have. Yeah, Amrita, over.
So,
Thanks a lot.
now I would like to call upon Vivek Kumar Gaurav, an advocate practicing in Delhi High Court. He has done his bachelor's, uh, his his bachelor's, his bachelor's in law and master's in law from University of Delhi. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much. Good evening to one and all. Bear with me. I am a little under weather, so my voice actually I had a choke in my so today I will discuss something which are very practical thing. I was hearing Dr. Shikha, and she has stated clearly that 41% of the Indians are facing cyberbullying, cyber threats, etc. She has also discussed about the 354D of the Indian Penal Code, wherein stalking is defined. And also she has given some forum. She has taken some name of some forum where you can lodge your FIR. That is true. She is right. But in this particular session, I'm going to give some brief about the practical aspects. What is practicality? What type of cyberbullying are happening in our society, especially due to emergence or due to boom in the social networking sites. There are n number of cases. Since we are in this profession, so we are aware of the current happenings of the society. So I will not take much time. I will just discuss 2 or 3 important crimes which are happening nowadays. So first is sextortion. I'm sure that many of you have not heard this. What is sextortion? Basically, sextortion is very similar to the word which is extortion, which is defined in the Indian Penal Code. Though sextortion is not mentioned in the Penal Code, but nowadays there are many cases of sextortion. And what is this? I'm going to tell you with practical examples. In sextortion, there is an organized group of maybe 10 people, in which few of them may be girls and the rest of them may be boys. Now, they have divided their work. Now, the work of the girls is to connect with the people on social media platforms. Let's say example like Instagram, Facebook, Telegram. They will send you a message. They will start talking with you, and then you will get engaged with her. Now, what will happen? That she will ask you to do certain acts which are very private in nature. And once you get ready, they will record your screen. And once it is recorded, now the sextortion will start. It means what? They have got a video clip in which you were engaged in doing some private acts with the other girl who has provoked you actually to do certain acts. Now she will tell you that either you deposit 50,000 rupees, 1 lakh rupees, 2 lakh, as the case may be. Otherwise, I will send this clipping to your friend circle. Since the person is knowing about your friend circle because she has sent you requests on Facebook or Insta or something like that, and now she will send you the actual clipping. The moment you will see this, you will get frightened, and immediately you will pay certain amount to them. I have received, n number of cases, complaint with this regard. And normal term which is used for this type of cases are sextortion actually. Now, I don't have any slides. I have not prepared slides at all. I was busy in some cases. So I will try my best to explain like this only. So in this particular situation, the main target audience are school going students, college going students. And they will also tell you that if you will not give money to them, then she will approach to your parents. And by the fear of your society, your parents, you will give them money. So this cases is very prevalent nowadays. And the local name of this type of cases is sextortion. And when I'm saying that girls are doing this, it is not true because they have a very well structured syndicate. They have a group of people who are engaged in doing so. And in this particular lockdown last year, because of lockdown, these type of cases has emerged like anything. So this is one form of sextortion. And I think that because of these type of sessions, I'm sure the people will get to know about these all things. Now the second thing which is very prevalent nowadays is online come offline sextortion. Earlier I was saying about the online sextortion where everything is happening online on your screen, and now you have to pay the money. That is a type of extortion. Now things are different. Now it is online come offline sextortion. What is this? In this particular crime, this is also an organized crime. Organized crime means what? Single people are not responsible. Single person is not responsible. Rather, they have a group of people, maybe 15 to 20 people. Modus operandi is almost same. Few girls will approach you on the social media platforms. You will agree. You will talk. You will have nice talks and this, that, whatever you can do. And now she will tell you that let's book a hotel. And then being a youngster, you will get ready for that. You will book the hotel, and the strange thing is that the hotel owner and these groups are actually, they work in connivance. And then the moment you will enter into the hotel room, the moment you will start engaging in any of the private acts, that particular moment, someone will knock your door. Someone will knock your door, and then again you will open, and the whole team will appear. Whole team is what? Maybe 15 to 20 people. Some of them may be journalists, and they will click your pictures, and they will ask you for a hefty money. You don't have any other option. You have to give money. Otherwise, they might lodge a frivolous FIR. They might lodge frivolous complaint against you. And in particular, youngsters, they actually promise that yes, they have done some mistake and they will give money. They will get an agreement for that, and then you have to pay the money. So this is the other form of sextortion, which are very prevalent nowadays, very prevalent. On daily basis, you will get few cases. Third example I'm quoting here is data entry fraud. Actually, these criminals are very much aware about the laws. They know the law and they misuse the law. Now in data entry fraud, what is happening nowadays, that someone will offer you a job. They will manage your email and WhatsApp number from here and there, and they will give you a message, text. If you want a job, then click this. You will click that, you will fill the form, the person will approach you, and then they will promise you that they will pay maybe 15,000, 20,000 rupees per month, or like that. And once you will agree, they will give you an agreement, and they will get your sign there, your photographs there. And after that, when you will work for few days, they will give you such type of work which is practically impossible. नहीं कर पाओगे आप, कुछ ऐसा काम दे देंगे. Normally captcha filling, there is a term called captcha filling. उसमें क्या करते हैं ये? They give you work that you have to fill some captcha in a particular format, और उसमें 90% accuracy must be there. आप करोगे, you will try, but you will not able to do that. The screen will show that only 80% accuracy is, you have done only 80% accuracy. Then again, they will message you, they will tell you that since you are not doing your job properly, and therefore you have to pay a hefty amount. Why? Because agreement ho gaya hai. Now agreement has been done. They have got your sign and address, everything. Now other team, since these all things are very organized, the legal department of that fake company, rather to say a company, I would like to tell that this is a fake company. So that the legal department of that particular company, anyone, they will pretend like an advocate. They will send you legal notice, and they will threaten you that either you pay this much amount because you have breached this particular agreement, and therefore you have to pay. Now, otherwise, if you will not pay, then again, you have to face the trial. You have to face the court. Normally, people are not aware about the courts and all. And then they are thinking that it's okay. Let's go. Let's give them money. And you will pay them. The moment you will pay them, they will again call you and again tell you that for finalizing this case, for finalizing the whole case, whole compromise agreement, you have to pay a certain amount again. And in this vicious circle, you will start paying and paying, and you will, they will extort your hefty amount. I have seen cases where 10 lakhs to 15 lakhs dena pada. You don't have any other option because you are not aware of the law. You don't know. And usually the target groups are again students, the women. ना तो वो घर में बता पाते हैं, ना तो हस्बैंड को बता सकते हैं, ना तो फादर को बता सकते हैं, बदनामी होगी. And they will threaten you that if you will not pay, then your father, your husband, your brother, they will get arrested and they will face the trial. So you don't have any other option. Now the next practical thing which is happening is criminal intimidation. Anyone can message you on social media, obscene messages, they will criminally intimidate you like anything. And now you don't have any other option. You have to face them. Now, these are the practical examples, but I am concerned about the solution. What are the solutions? Solutions kya hai? We have seen that in this particular, I mean, within 5 years, there is a boom in social media and social media platforms. But what we have done as a state, whether the state has actually trained their official in such a manner, not at all, not at all. With due respect to Dr. Shikha ma'am, she was saying that once you will approach the police station, the police is bound to register FIR. In practical, ऐसा बिल्कुल भी नहीं करते हो. आप जाओगे पुलिस स्टेशन, they will throw you out. नहीं लिखेंगे, कुछ भी कर दो वो नहीं लिखेंगे. जहां जाना है जाओ. This is practical thing. Now, the main problem is the state is not concerned about the training to their official. Delhi की बात कर रहा हूं. I'm staying in Delhi. Delhi में भी if you will approach to a local थाना, वो कहेंगे साइबर वाले के पास जाओ, साइबर सेल का अलग थाना है. वहां जाओगे तो बोलेंगे नहीं वो तो वहां जाएगा, उस ड्यूरेशन में पड़ेगा, वहां जाओ. वहां जाओगे तो वो चारों तरफ घुमाते रह जाएंगे. ये दिल्ली का सीन है. If you'll go to the remote villages, Bihar, UP, Jharkhand, pathetic condition. They don't know the law actually. Ma'am was also highlighting the IT Act. Recently, if you are aware of the legal news, आपको भी पता चला होगा. श्रेया सिंगल का जजमेंट है जिसमें the apex court has strike down the provisions of IT Act. 2015, way back in 2015, 15-16 के आसपास. And after that judgment, till now, 4-5 साल हो गए, and in this duration, several hundred FIR has been filed for the same thing, जो कि ऑफेंस है ही नहीं, खत्म कर दिया जा चुका है एपेक्स कोर्ट के द्वारा, ऑनरेबल सुप्रीम कोर्ट के द्वारा, बट स्टिल पुलिस फाइल कर देते हैं उसमें FIR. Why? Because they are not aware of the law of the land. उनकी भी गलती नहीं है. Directly they are not responsible for that. The state has failed to train them. ट्रेनिंग नहीं मिलती है उनको, कहां से लॉ कर कैसे पता चलेगा? They don't have any other option. और इस तरीके से frivolous FIR रजिस्टर हो जाते हैं, and then again वही चीजें होती है, परेशानी होते रहती है. So obviously due to the emergence of social media sites, these type of cases are emerging in a very exponential rate, but unfortunately we are not training our officials to that rate. हालांकि धीरे धीरे चीजें चेंजेस आ रहे हैं, but obviously it will take time. Since I am related to this profession, I know the practical aspects के क्या होते हैं. जहां तक रही बात FIR की और कंप्लेंट रजिस्टर की, कंप्लेंट आप यदि कर भी देते हो थाना में, they will do nothing. कुछ नहीं करेंगे, वैसे ही कबाड़े में फेंका रहेगा, कुछ नहीं करेंगे. इससे अनफॉर्चुनेट. और हमें FIR कराने के लिए बहुत मेहनत करने पड़ते हैं. Then you have options. If the police is not ready to register your FIR, you can approach to the court, you can approach to the magistrate. But again, कितने लोग इतने झंझट में पड़ना चाहेंगे? फिर again hire an advocate, pay him or her, और फिर अलग से उसमें समय लगेगा. So कुल मिलाकर के जो जनरल मासेस हैं वो सोचते हैं कि छोड़ो इसको, leave it aside, क्या फर्क पड़ता है, रहने दो. एंड देन हमें तो अब आदत हो गई इस चीजों में रहने की, और ये चीजें हो रही है, we can see, but we are helpless. I think state should do something. State should train their officials, police officers especially, so that these type of cases can be registered in a faster rate. And you know, the strange thing is, even if you register FIR, even if like have by approach, or you just go to a senior official, he will just say that register an FIR. But what about the investigation? उन्हें नहीं करने आता है इस टाइप के केसेस में इन्वेस्टिगेशन कैसे होना है, क्या करना है. So it will take time. Things are getting on track, but I think it will take some time. So I was told to talk about this digitalization of harassment. I was not aware of what is topic and what I should cover. So I have requested Bhumika Trust that just tell me what to deliver. Then they have told just give some practical examples, practical things which are happening in our society nowadays. So I've just given you 4 examples, and these type of examples are very frequent. I would request the youngster to take precaution, and if you get involved in these type of cases, immediately inform the police, or at least inform your nearest advocate who can help you to lodge an FIR or to guide you appropriately. So this is what I have to say. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your help through your experience. We are enlightened from that. आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. Now I think Sakshi ma'am has resolved the problem of her connection. I would like to call upon ma'am. Sakshi ma'am, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Namrata. I hope now I am audible. I have changed my connection.
Yes, ma'am.
It's clear now. My voice is clear.
Yes, ma'am. It's totally fine.
Okay. So I hope my slides are also visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So let me start with the topic. So I would like to talk on a topic that is actually not limited to IT realms and has penetrated our everyday lives with the advent of digital adoption across entire democracy. So cybercrime. Yeah. I'm visible also. Cybercrime today encompasses various facets of our lives, including financial, personal, professional, societal, and even sexual. So all these in various forms amounts to a degree of harassment, which has a profound impact on us and our families too. So the impact in some cases has been catastrophic, forcing individuals to succumb despite doing excellent in their fields of work, whatever they do. So awareness and alertness are what can thwart the occurrence of these incidents. Seeking help from government bodies can mitigate the damage which may be caused by such incidents. Like,
sorry to disrupt you, ma'am. Ma'am, your screen share is not visible.
Okay. You have heard, I think, the statement by Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, who advocates for RBI, who says, "Jankar rahiye, satark rahiye." So this is very important. Jankari is very important. You have to be aware of the context. I hope my screen is visible.
No, ma'am, it is actually completely blank.
Yes, ma'am, that's only what I told you.
Okay. Let me share it again. Now it's visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So to deal with this topic, I shall be talking about the cyber crime in the coming slides. That would help everyone get here a glimpse of how this is shaping up to be an integral part of our everyday lives. So if you see here my screen, what is cyber crime actually? I'm focusing on the topic cyber crime because this is very important to know. Cybercrime is very fast growing area of crime. Why? Because of the speed, convenience, anonymity of the internet, diverse criminal activities possible and across boundaries, either physical or virtual. Why I'm focusing on cybercrime? Because of the intent of digitalization, it is giving rise to the cybercrime. If you see the facts and stats, you will find that yes, cybercrime is since 2013, the graph has been exponentially rising. Why? Because the crime, the very first factor that I have written here is the speed. Means when an unauthorized, unintended person wants to harm anybody else on the network, so that can be done at a very in a very fraction of second. It would hardly take 6 seconds or nanoseconds. And very easy, very convenient for that person. He's sitting at his home and doing all the malicious activities that he wants to do. And he's not caught up easily by any authority, because anonymity is there on the internet. Nobody knows each other, and it would be very hard to find out who has done this particular crime. I'm not saying it's not possible to find out who has done the crime, but it's very hard to find. And diverse kind of criminal activities are possible through these days. They are. We'll see in the coming slides that what kind of threats are there. Now, if you see the bottom part of the slide, the 5 most cyber attacked industries. The first is the healthcare. Second, manufacturing. Third is the financial services, government, transportation. These are the 5 most cyber attacked industries these days. And if you see the stack, if I talk about the history of cybercrime, it is not a new term for us. Since 1820, the first cybercrime has been recorded. In 1978, the first spam email has been encountered. In 1982, the first virus was actually installed on an Apple computer that you consider as the most safest computer. And if you see this bar line chart, you see here, 1970, the very first, the program which was created by a person, which is capable of moving over a network, and it has left a trail behind it. The name of that program, which was intended to provide harm to any computer present on the network, was the Creeper. And in 1980, the era of computer worms came. Now here, lots and lots of worms were created. Then in 1990, if you see here, it was the rise of computer viruses. You might have heard about the 2 very famous terms, I Love You virus and the Melissa virus. So these are the computer programs that were designed to replicate themselves, to create copies of their own, so that they can harm the files present on the computer. So they gave birth to this problem. The rise of viruses gave birth to the antivirus software solutions. In 1990s were the era of antivirus industry. These antivirus industry basically created lots and lots of software programs that can help you to protect your system from viruses. These antivirus softwares scan your computer system for the presence of any virus or worm on the network or on your machine, whether your files are infected or not. In 1995, then secure socket layer concept came, which enables the user to access the web securely. So if you are accessing a web on your machine, so you might be connected to your secure socket layer. You might have read about the HTTPS. When you access your internet, you might see at the beginning it's written HTTPS. S is for the secured socket layer. Then in 2003, anonymous first hacker group came that hacked the website belonging to a church of Scientology with the help of a type of attack which is known as distributed DOS attack, where the persons were not able to access their own files, own machine. They are not able to connect to their own network. Then in 2000, Albert Gonzalez credit card hacks. This was a very big attack where I think lots and lots of credit cards were attacked. Their card numbers were stolen, their PIN codes were stolen, and this attack was successfully performed by this team, Albert Gonzalez team. Then one more concept came in 2003 only, that cybersecurity regulations came into existence and laws came into existence. Now, if you see this slide is basically showing you the facts that these are all from your previous news. That cybercrimes in India spiked nearly 9 times since 2013. So how you can see how the graph is rising, how the cybercrime has been reported in India. It's been increasing day by day. If you see the very first graph shown here, since 2013, the number is increasing exponentially. Here also, if you see, the number is increasing exponentially. So India becomes favorite destination for cyber criminals. during COVID-19. Why? Because the internet usage has exceeded. You can
If you can just click on the slide, it's not visible, the current slide.
I think
The
it's
one
visible.
that is having the graph.
You can see here.
Not yet. The one with the cybercrime is visible. 5 most cyber attacks. So I guess it is frozen. So if you can just click on slide number 4.
Okay. Just 1 minute. I think now it will be visible to you. Can you see now?
Yeah, it's
Yes,
fine.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you see here, this slide is basically showing you the fact that how cybercrime in India has grown exponentially since 2013. So if you see this first graph, this is since 2013 to 2020. So the numbers are increasing. The cybercrime rates that are reported in India has been increasing at a very faster rate. Here also the graph is increasing at a very faster rate. And during COVID-19, India becomes the favorite destination for cyber criminals. Now, what type of cyber crimes that are actually, or we can say what types of threats are there when we are connected over the internet? What type of threats are there? These are the 15 major threats that takes place over the internet. From this, you have to save your machine. Now, I hope you people know about these threats. Many of you may be aware of malwares. Malwares are the software programs that are basically created to travel on the network. Means they can harm your machine, and if your machine is connected over the network, it is connected to another machine, then that can travel to the another machine, and that can provide harm to the another machine, and so on like this. A trail is created in the malware. Web-based attack. When you're connected over the internet, you are accessing lots and lots of hyperlinks. So maybe you click on some link which is not known to you. Maybe that link has been created to provide harm to your machine, to install some application onto your system. Okay, some spam mails you almost see on daily basis. If you check your emails, you receive some spam mails. What are these mails? These mails are the messages that are sent to the n number of persons simultaneously, so that any one of them can click onto that and access, try to click on the link present in the email, or try to download some attachment which is infected attachment. So once you click on it, the cyber criminal has done its job. He has installed the application on your machine. Next is the denial of service attack. Denial of service attack is when the criminal has done its job and you are not able to access your own machine. You are denied to access your service. A business organization is denied to provide services to the clients. So, ransomware. Have you ever heard about the term ransomware? Yes. Have you ever heard about the term ransomware? It's a very common term, and since 2017, this term has gained a lot and lots of popularity and media coverage. Yes, anyone? It's basically a malware attack where a computer system or network is infected with a computer virus or any other type of malware for stealing confidential data or for using computer to carry other criminal activities. Means the computer which has been hacked for a purpose, which is basically lacking somewhere. So generally, this ransomware attack has been caused on the Microsoft Windows machines. So they have find out the loophole present in the operating system, and using that loophole, they have accessed that computer, and using that computer, they have committed the crime. So ransomware is the major attack, which is basically using the malware, which is an attack used to extort money by holding the victim's data or device to ransom. Means आपको याद होगा जब 2017 में जब ransomware attack हुआ था, तो people were not able to access their important data. Many big companies, they were not able to access their data, and when they tried to, a message was shown on their screen: if you want to access your data, please pay this much amount. So in order to have access to their own data, they have to pay. So this kind of attack is very common. Another term that you can see is another type of attack is the phishing attack. which is when the emails, the spam emails or other form of communications are sent in masses with the intention of tricking the recipients into doing something that undermines their security and security of their organization. Phishing campaign generally contains infected attachments or links to malicious sites. Another type of attack that are common these days are the botnets, that are the robotic networks, which is a network of computer infected by malware that are under the control of a single attacking party. The purpose is basically to include more and more number of machines into their network, to infect more and more number of machines so that they are controlled by them, a single attacking party. If you see the facts, you can also find, if you read about it, that I told you that the top 5 industries that are prone to these attacks. The very first is the healthcare industry. Healthcare industry is basically prone to the insider attacks, insider threats, which is a security threat that originates from within the organization. That could be the current employee of the organization is not loyal, or the former employee is doing it, or the business associate, some business associate who has access to some sensitive information or privileged accounts, he is giving information to the outsider. So these are the insider attacks, and healthcare industry is the target these days. Next kind of attack that is common these days is the cyber espionage attack, or we can also call it as a cyber spying. It is a type of cyber attack where an unauthorized user attempts to access sensitive information or data for any economic gain. So these types of attacks are very common. Now, you have heard about the attacks. Now, how to answer the question for why do these attacks occur? Why do the breaches occur? Now, can any one of you can answer about this? Why these breaches occur? What's the reason? Because nowadays, when you read newspaper, even not a single day goes by without a headline screaming that some organization has experienced a data breach. Why? Why? My question for you is why? Because most of you read the newspapers and you find this type of information on the headline as some organization has experienced a data breach and a loss of this much amount and so on. The major reason behind this is basically the human errors or human mistakes. It is rightly said by IBM that 88% of the breaches are actually caused by human errors, human mistakes. I must tell you, human error is still very much the driving force behind an overwhelming majority of cybersecurity problems. So it's very important to know why data breaches occur. Okay, so if you see here, can you see the current slide? Why do data breaches occur? Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
You can see the fact here, 42% of the data breaches occur because of the configuration errors, weak, or the passwords that you set were very easy to crack on. So who is responsible for it? We, because we have set our passwords, and those passwords are not actually up to the mark. They are not secure passwords. They are very, very easy to crack. 6% of the attack is because of the vulnerable codes that are written. Means the codes, the softwares developed by the developers, they have some vulnerability present in them only. And those vulnerabilities can be used as a loophole by the cyber criminals. They can get into the machine very easily by using those loopholes. 31% of the problem is because of the installation. Suspect applications. You install so many applications on your phone without considering whether it is good or bad for you. You access on Facebook. I came across so many people access so many applications which are freely available, and some name prediction is there. Yes, you can predict what will happen to you in the next 10 days. Just click on it and you see this will happen. A message will be shown to you. what code is working behind it without considering a single thought. You just click it. Who is responsible for installation of those malicious content into your machine? You yourself. The malwares get installed easily, right? You access some emails that are not intended for you. You don't know the the sender, but still you click on those emails and check what is written inside it. What is the attachment? You just click on it. So what is happening? Code behind that attachment, when you click on it, the code has been downloaded in your machine. You are not aware of it, but in the background it is running. Yes, maybe stealing your information, passing on the data present on your hard disk to somebody else who is connected on the network. So we are actually responsible for these cyber crimes. 88% of this is actually because of this. Now, how to protect ourselves from these crimes? We can have firewalls installed on your machines. We can set the passwords that are not easily crackable. Just follow all the guidelines and make a password which is not less than 8 characters and including special characters, which generally what we do, we set our passwords with some common names like our last name, or with our first name, with our birth date, with our phone numbers, last 4 characters or 5 characters. So these are easily crackable. This thing should be avoided. We should update our operating system regularly. We should install an antivirus into our machine and update the antivirus regularly. We should have the pop-up advertising blocker, because advertising these days, when you open your account, you see so many advertisements coming up on the right or left hand side. At times the pop-up comes, and whenever you click on the pop-up, something will happen to your machine, definitely. If you don't have any antivirus or firewall, your machine will be infected. You should use strong passwords. If you're connected to a wireless network, it should be secure. You should access only those websites, those applications on the internet that are known to you, that are reputable. Don't blindly click on any link present in the email or on the net. If you don't know the recipient, don't click on the emails received by those. Don't open those spam mails, because they are intentionally sent so that they send it to 1 lakh people simultaneously. But if from 1 lakh, even if the 10% of them access it, so their work is done. Cyber criminals got into your machine. So these are the simple tricks through which we can at least prevent our machine from getting it into the threat. Now, this was all about the cyber crime. Now, this entire digital platform is actually a breeding ground for different types of crimes. One of the area of concern is the online sexual harassment. Nowadays, if you see the facts, since 2019 onwards, this type of crime is also increasing. Unwanted sexual content or conduct on any digital platform is considered as a sexual harassment. By the use of technology, the content has been shared on any type of media, the images, videos, posts, or messages or pages, any type of such content is actually leading to a sexual harassment. If you see the facts, more than 3 lakh cases of sexually harassed victims have been reported. 92,000 SOS calls in 2020 during the lockdown period has been received. This has been the report has been generated by an NGO, Childline. India is actually one of the very few countries who has implemented the IT Act 2000 to tackle the cyber crime. However, still we are lacking somewhere in the fortification for women's safety. Now, there are different types of computer-generated cyber crimes against the women's. Stalking, I think somebody has already talked about stalking via emails, which involves some synonymous letter-based abuses or sending blackmailing messages, maltreatment, coercions, or cheating through emails. They are sending some emails containing such unwanted contents. Cyber pornography is very common these days. Via any print material on the internet, or in some photographs or pornographic pictures, videos has been sent, which will be installed automatically when you click on some poster or anything, that these videos, these pictures will be downloaded on your machines. Cyber stalking is also very common. This is not actually this type of cyber stalking is basically tracking a person's movement by messaging some comments, or you can even know about the person's entire routine, beginning from the morning till the night. It's very easy for a person to just have an information, because nowadays we are always connected to our online media through emails, through we are always active on Facebook, we are always active on WhatsApp. So what we can do is we can simultaneously share our even locations to somebody. So what is this leading to? We are opening our machine to the others. So it's very easy for the other person to get into our machines, and they even know about the entire routine, what we are doing since morning till end. So we are actually responsible for all these breaches. We need to avoid these things by following small measures. Now, I think Mr. Vivek has already discussed about the laws in India. So there are some problems which are actually faced by women in the cyber world. First is the fear of dishonor and embarrassment in society. We are always fear of discussing these things in open. Why? What will our parents will think? Parents will say, "Baki log kya sochenge?" Just keep it with you. Don't disclose it. No, it's not right. Limited technology usage by women. Since we are living in the digital era, but we can't say that the technology is accessible to all the women. So those who are working, it's very good. But those who are not working, staying at home, technology might be a barrier for them. So what you people can do, if someone is there at your home, some women is there at your home, is not accessing a technology just because of fear, how can I use, ye to mere liye nahi hai, mere kis kaam aayega, just let them know there are advantages of technology. Lack of awareness regarding privacy and security. Sometimes we are not aware of how we can protect ourselves, what we can do if something has happened. Law fortification to ensure documentation and privacy of victims. Why we restrict ourselves for going through for filing any case or so? Because generally there is a mindset, a common mindset, that when we will go for any case, or our privacy will be disclosed. When we'll file a complaint, our privacy will be disclosed. So because of these all barriers that the women are facing in the cyber world. Now, what all suggestive measures or planned solutions outlined? What you can do, just have a knowledge about what laws are there. If some crime has been consistently occurring on your machine, you should report it to your internet service provider first. Try to avoid usage of machines present in the cyber cafe for your personal use. And if something has happened, you can file a case against the cyber cafe persons also. Some strict regulations should be there in the cyber cafes. You should be aware where it is authorized to access, to have a recording of you, which all places are actually you are being recorded throughout. It's very common saying, being a computer person, I can say, we are 24 hours. If we are connected to an internet, our camera is 100% on throughout 24 hours. Even if you are not accessing your camera, still Google is accessing you. You can read any article, you can find that your camera, if you're connected to an internet, your camera is open throughout 24 hours. Google has an eye on you. So awareness needs to be awareness is over a cyber background, and its drawbacks also needs to be improved amongst the people. कोई बाहर से हमें सिखाने नहीं आएगा, हमें कुछ चीजें खुद से सीखनी होंगी. और जब हम इन प्रिवेंटिव मेजर्स को सीखेंगे, we can avoid up to some extent these cyber crimes, these digital harassments, especially when you are connected to social media. When you are connected to Facebook, Facebook is 39% of the attacks are generally done on the Facebook, according to an NJ report. 23% of the attacks are generally on the Instagram, 14% on WhatsApp, Snapchat, 10%, Twitter, 9%, TikTok, 6%. These are all social media platforms. So while accessing these platforms, we need to be more cautious what we are sharing. If we are sharing such content which is very personal to us, we should avoid sharing it on social media platforms, because this is open, this is available to all. And if although you have to share, please, there are some settings that are available. You can restrict it to for your own friend list. Don't open it for the public. Okay. So these are some common things that we can follow to avoid the breaches that occur on our machine. I won't take much time. Maybe other speakers are also waiting. So that's all with my talk. Thank you and be safe.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. आपने बहुत अच्छे से explain किया how cyber security, cyber harassment, and cyber bullying are connected to each other, and how we should prevent them in our day-to-day life, and how should we protect ourselves from these things. Thank you so much. Now I would like to call upon Mr. Daniel Abdullah, our guest speaker. Sir, welcome.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So I have a rough idea of what we are discussing now, and I'm very sorry I had to pass it before because I didn't have an idea of the context, what we are discussing. So I think the legal issues related to sexual harassment on the web and similar related cyber harassment has been substantially covered by the ma'am who just spoke and Mr. Gaurav. So I think for the sake of brevity, I'd like to cover an area of cyberbullying which does not have very specific laws to address it because of the nature of criminal jurisprudence, and yet I think it does substantial damage to the psychology of the victims to justify making a law or modifying the existing laws to cover those. Hello. So I think the first thing is schoolyard bullying. So I think just give me a second. Yeah. So recently there was an incident in which a group of boys in a school in Jaipur, they made a WhatsApp group and they used to share pictures of girls in their class. So the pictures were not per se offensive, normal pictures, but what they used to do is they used to rate the girls according to their visual appeal and whatever. So this created a big hullabaloo, and people got surprised that this kind of things are happening in Indian schools. But what a lot of people seem to be unaware that because of the way social media works. Just give me 2 minutes. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
sir, you are audible.
There is some interference here. So because of the way social media works, because in traditional school bullying, what used to happen is if somebody is bullied at a point of time, the audience was very limited and there was no record of the incident happening. So the humiliation which they experience, it is very humiliating. It has psychological impact, but it did not carry very far. But with the advent of social media, we have a situation where bullying can be like almost practically global. A large number of people can get together and then they can bully a person. They can make them feel they can do anything. So one of the examples I'll give is there was a friend of mine, so who had a teacher in a very reputed college in Guwahati. So during when the Pulwama incident happened, she made a Twitter post where she said like the Pulwama incident was very convenient, a very convenient incident to happen in this time of in this pre-election era, so it should be properly investigated. So after this tweet was screenshotted by a group of people, which is a very closed group, and then they shared and they said like, let's harass this woman, let's destroy this woman because she is challenging the government. And normally such speech, they come very clearly within the freedom of speech under Article 19. But what they did is they made a group, they collected those speech, and a lot of them they used to they contacted the police in Guwahati to have her arrested. Like that she has insulted the government, she has disrespected our soldiers, she has made a statement against India, and the police, without inquiring very judiciously into the substance of the complaint, the nature of the message which was made, they proceeded to arrest her in her house. Hello, am I coherent? Hello.
Yes, sir.
So they proceeded to arrest her in her house. So I got a call around half an hour after this happened. So one of my friends who is in Guwahati who said like his teacher has been arrested and she's been taken to the police station and they are processing her. So I called the police station at that time and I asked them like, what charges are you holding her in? So they said like, we got some messages from a group of people who are very influential. They belong to this organization, and they said that she made a statement in social media and we found the statement. I said like, I saw the statement and this statement is clearly within the boundaries of freedom of speech under Article 19, because the criticism of the government is a right, is a fundamental right. Criticism in politics is a fundamental right, but somehow they did not even inquire into this. They didn't even inquire into the merits of the issue, and they had proceeded to arrest her. So I said like, what are the charges you have leveled her? Mention me at least one section. They said, sir, upar se order aaya hai. I said like, that is not a ground for arresting someone. Hello. And then I had a couple of friends go over to the place and then have her released, bailed out before she was processed. And eventually they found that the charges were baseless. But see, this is a kind of specific bullying. It's called malicious prosecution. Like, a group of people get together and use the power of collective voice to force to harass a person, to make malicious criminal charges on a person, to destroy their reputation, to assassinate their character. And unfortunately, our criminal law does not specifically cover those issues. There is section 499, criminal defamation, but again, it's a non-cognizable offense. So you have to actually approach a magistrate under section 190 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, and you have to request a hearing, and then on this hearing you have to explain that person published a statement or made some insinuation which is damaging to my reputation in the society, because of which I face real or potential damages. So I should be criminal charges should be leveled against them. So most people they don't wish to, I think, as Mr. Gaurav mentioned, that because of the intricacies and the difficulties of approaching the legal system, most people don't want to bother with that, and this has emboldened such cyber bullies. So I think we should have laws to cover this kind of bullying, like organize trolling a person, destroying their reputation, trying to level criminal charges, or trying to affect their perception of themselves, and all these things. There should be some kind of law. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
I think that will be all. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thanks for your words and your information and the experience that you have shared with us. Thanks a lot. We gained a lot of new knowledge and new things from this. Now, I would like to call upon our next speaker, Miss Miss Shweta Arya. She is the assistant professor in DTMC Department of Ramlal Anand College, Delhi University. Ma'am, welcome. Over to you.
Well, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to discuss on such a serious issue which has its own consequences. Because I belong to the media area, so I'll discuss the whole issue in relation to the media, and also the other panelists have already provided lots of information related to the particular issue. So first, I would like to comment on the media representation, because when we talk about the media, there exist two types of role that are assigned or that are expected from the media. Is the media representation, how much media gives coverage to a particular issue. In this context, the digital harassment, or we can say the cyberbullying or the cyber stalking, or with any other name. And the second role which is assigned towards it is the generation of awareness. So with few cases, I would like to continue. There is a report that was being published in Indian Express on 31st of July this year. The report was related to Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad Cybercrime Cell got 5,000 complaints from January 2020 to July 2021. And you can see within a span of 1.5 years, Ahmedabad Cybercrime Cell reported 5,000 complaints of cyberbullying. And the majority of the victims were women, young girls and women. And the cases were related to stalking, bullying, sexual harassment, impersonations. And the platforms that were being used in these cases were Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchats, these are the forms of the media. So you can see here how the social media, these platforms, are being used by the stalkers or the, or you can say the accused persons to satisfy their desires. And in fact, in this particular case, I'm talking about, there are a few case studies that includes the young students of a private university who were sexually harassed by an unknown man who infiltrated into a Zoom class and committed lewd activities. Then there is a case of 25-year-old man arrested demanding their intimate pictures on WhatsApp by promising them free innerwears. Again, then there is a news that was published in our newspaper. It's basically awareness creation program, that was, declared by the Delhi government. Then a very popular case that had been reported in Delhi, boys locker room, which is related to a Facebook, Instagram, Snapchats. That's a very, very much popular case which involves school students of Delhi and very reputed and high-profile Delhi schools. So these are the few cases, or you can say the media represented the cyberbullying or digital harassments in their platforms. This suggests that though media have played their role in creating awareness indirectly by publishing or by giving the space in their platforms, but the nature of the news that you can see are majorly related either to the government awareness programs or some sorts of reports being published by some sort of NGOs or the police departments or else. I haven't seen any sort of aggressive media coverage or aggressive media campaign related to the issue, which I believe, considering the heinous nature of the issue of this digital harassment or the cybercrime, needs to be done by the media itself. In fact, if we talk about the entertainment industry, the Bollywood industry, the film industry, which has its which has its proven effect, which is very powerful medium, especially in amongst the youths and every age group. I haven't seen any Bollywood Hindi film have been released or made by any production house. Last year only, I came to know about the film titled as Hacked, made by Vikram Bhatt. So but we should not be demotivated by seeing this media's role in this particular issue. this particular film had opened the door for other, filmmakers to create more subject-oriented content related to this digital harassment. And it should be done because the victims which are involved in this issue are majorly the school students and the women. These are the vulnerable people. One more thing we should understand here is this: why this thing happens to the students majorly. These are the school students are basically belongs to the adolescent groups. And being adolescent, they tend to consume lots of, they tend to give their much of time to the social media platforms or any technology that is related to that is driven by internet. There exist various gaming platforms and online chat rooms. Social media comes at very first ranking in terms of the digital harassment, then comes the chat rooms, and then comes the gaming platforms. So what happened, in fact, Sakshi ma'am already told us about the rising case of digital harassments during lockdown. Yes, it happened. 500% we have seen the rise in cases of digital harassments during the lockdown period. Why? Because we started consuming the internet more than earlier. All our offline activities switched to the online mediums. And in this, the vulnerable section, that is the adolescent groups from the 13 to 18, consumes more. And they are also required to take their classes. And as I quoted few examples here, there are examples, there are incidences that are related to the, the classroom itself, the official classrooms which the students are taking or were taking. So that's the first, another thing. So considering the role of media, yes, media is playing its role, but in an aggressive mode. The time is to play, the time requires that media should play an aggressive role. We do not expect, not only from the traditional forms of media like the print or the television in terms of the journalism, but the entertainment industry should also work. Now comes to the awareness point. I would like to definitely, speak few words on this particular point without taking much time. Awareness. Sakshi ma'am has already provide the technical solutions, but there are few solutions which being a human being, we should do on our own. There is a popular saying, precaution is better than cure. कुछ हमारे साथ घटित हो और उसके बाद हम पुलिस के चक्कर काटें, तो it's better to अपने आप को हम संभाल लें. So whenever such incidences happens to you or to your kid, please first block the profile, block the account. This is the first major thing. And if I'm talking about the children who are very, very vulnerable, because adolescent age is an age where children hardly speak to their parents related to these such issues. This is such a tender age where they develop lots of conflict with their families or with any other peer group. But please keep an eye on your kid. Keep an eye on your kids' online behavior, what sort of content they are watching. And always try to motivate your kid to speak to parents. So these are the few, जिसको हम घर बैठे कर सकते हैं, and no technology is required. What required is only to communicate, is to open the doors of the communication. I belong to the communication field. That's why I'm, focusing and pressurizing this communication point. The cyber harassment cases are reported, but lots of other cases, there exists a number of cases which are not being reported. Where the solution is, where the solution is then the communication. Focus on the communication. Open the doors for the kids. Open the doors for the women, so that we can give the solutions to our kids, to our families, and develop a society free from cyberbullying. This much I want to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I would like to the participants to ask their question in the chat group. Please, if anyone have the question, please ask in the chat. Meanwhile, I would like to ask Daniel sir. Sir, as you have told us about the incident, sir, in this way there would be a type of terror in everyone to speak upon on the words that might be there would be put upon and put upon the charges if they speak something about something against government or something against someone, and they will just directly call upon them and put an FIR, and they might be in jail about it. Can you tell me upon something of this? How someone can prevent this fear?
Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, is this a question directed at me?
Sir, if you want to answer, then, or otherwise any of the panelists can answer it. But mainly you put it the topic, that's why I took your name.
Yeah, so I think, you know, in cases like this, see, because we don't really have as I just mentioned, we don't really have existing laws which protect people against this. We have laws on stalking, but again, stalking is so narrowly defined. I think a person will have to monitor your entire activity for a very long period of time, including your communications, to commit the offense of stalking. But if you publish something, okay, if you make an opinion known in public in the open internet, people can criticize your opinion. They also have the right to criticize your opinion. But it becomes a problem when a group of people use the power of collective, the power of social collectiveness to try to intimidate you and harass you for voicing your opinion, which is a form of trolling. It's a non-sexual nature, but it is still trolling, and it still has a very detrimental effects on the life of people. Like, people could lose their jobs because of the organization which does not want to have someone very controversial in their organization. People could have difficulty living in a certain locality where the local public might think that the aspersions which are made against them are actually true, even though they are not true. Okay, so all of this sort of things would happen. So in my opinion, unless we have actual laws to deal with this problem, the whole tendency of cyberbullying without having a sexual element but a more social element, unless we have those laws, I think it is better when you make those opinions, try to make it within a closed group. Use privacy settings, use filters, make it within a closed group, so that if somebody tries to do something, you can identify that person. I have personally faced things like this without making political opinions. Somebody known to me made political opinions. They tagged me in that post, and I shared with that. I shared that post, okay, and then a particular group, I forgot the name of that group. They shared the names of the entire all the people who are in that tagged group, and they said, like, let's harass them. Let's make them disappear from social media. So this sort of things, they happen. So as I said, one of the remedies, if that happens to you and if the accusation made against you is false, one of the remedies you could approach is section 499/500 of the Indian Penal Code, which is a criminal defamation, basically making an allegation against you which is not true, but which is designed to destroy your reputation in the society. Hello?
Yes, sir.
This is one of the options, but as I said, since it is a section 190 CRPC case, you will have to actually approach the magistrate. And if you have done your legal homework properly, I think you can do it yourself. You can write a letter and you can provide the evidence. And as somebody already suggested, and I think we have saw a slide also, that when things like that happen, you have to preserve all evidence. You have to preserve the screenshot. You have to even save the HTML pages if possible, and you have to record everything, because in a lot of cases, what they do is there are a lot of fake accounts which will appear on the internet, attack the person, like a group of fake accounts, attack the person, and then they'll delete the accounts and their tweets. And once because they just start it, they just start something, a process of a character assassinating against a person, and they make it go viral. So before it could go viral, the original perpetrators will disappear, and then the whole accusation, the whole attack will have a life of its own. So in those cases, it is always better, like the moment something happens, start preserving the evidence, because if it goes out of control, if it leads to anything which is construed as criminal, you will want to preserve the evidence. And I think the best course of action against these things right now is, given the current environment and given the the social media impact of bullying, is to share your opinions in a more closed group and more discreetly.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sir, here our friend Kasturi Anandi is asking, is the intensity of punishment is different for different age group in case of cyberbullying?
It depends, okay, because as I told you, there was this group called Boys Club, okay, and in the beginning, it became a very huge issue. It came in the media also. So eventually, most of the offenders were found to be juvenile, and we already know that the Juvenile Justice Act, which punishes offenders of juvenile offenders, has a very limited scope for prosecuting juvenile offenders, as well as limited scope for punishing juvenile offenders. So yes, age group does matter. If the offenders are juvenile, they're probably the law is probably going to be a lot less harsh than if the offender is an adult. Hello.
Okay, sir.
Is that what you are asking me about, or is that something else?
Sir, I think it is the same according to the question of Kasturi.
Yes.
Sumit, sir, Sumit wants to ask the question. Sumit, please come upon.
Good evening. I'm audible.
Yes.
Yes, you're audible.
Yes, sir. I have vision problem. I can't type properly, so I asked the question, sir, ma'am. My first question is that if my SIM card is been copied and is been misusing, how can I find out that it is been misusing or not? Because Airtel or any company, if the SIM card is in damaged, it can be copied. But if the person is using my SIM card, calling others, making anything of my WhatsApp or anything, can I understand that he is using or not? Question. That's the first question I want to ask.
What you are referring right now is called SIM card cloning.
Yes, SIM card cloning.
Okay. Yes. I'll tell you the basic technology of SIM cards. So you understand the concept of encryption.
Okay.
So SIM cards may contain an encryption key. Basically, it's an encryption key is made from your phone. Okay, so the process of cloning involves copying the entire code to another blank SIM card. Okay, and then trying to make a call from this. So one of the ways you could prevent getting your SIM card cloned is is to prevent your SIM card from getting into the hands of others.
Okay.
Hello? And
yes,
there are some other issues which are beyond your control, because I'll tell you a story. Like 5 years back, so Airtel had this offer where you could upgrade from a 2G SIM to 3G SIM for free. So I went online, I entered my details, my numbers, and I registered my phone in my old address. It was a prepaid number, and I gave the new address, I gave my name and everything, and then they said like you will get your SIM delivered in 24 hours. Okay, and within the in the next day, a person turned it up at my place, a courier guy, and he delivered the SIM. Now that time it did not appear to me to be a problem, but later I realized that it's a very serious problem. Suppose I could have impersonated, somebody else could have impersonated me. Okay, they could have entered the number, and since they did not have an OTP process of verification that the person who owns this number is the person requesting this SIM, the new SIM, the upgraded SIM. They did not have a process of verification at that time, and without the verification, they simply delivered the SIM to the person, which is very risky. See, even if the SIM cannot be activated without entering the SMS code in the previous number, somebody could still, take the code in that SIM and they could hack it, and then they could still make it active. So recently, this kind of problems have become more rare, because when you upgrade a SIM, change the number, there is a 24-hour gap, and then in this 24 hours, Airtel will personally call the person and they will verify that the person really requested the SIM. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, we are listening. Yes.
Yes. So this is one of the security measures which are taken by the companies to resolve this issue. But as far as your vigilance is concerned, I think the only measure you could do is prevent your SIM from falling into anyone and use like don't randomly use a SIM in another person's phone without proper security measures, and just prevent your SIM from falling into the wrong hands. And if you lose your phone, immediately lodge an FIR, and then take the copy of the FIR, go to the phone provider, the network provider company, and then get the SIM immediately blocked and get a new SIM, so that the previous code is completely deactivated. I think that's the only thing you could do. And if somebody reports that there have been messages sent from your number and you did not send those messages, you could do the same thing. You could go to the phone company, get your SIM blocked, the other SIM also blocked, and apply for a fresh SIM. Hello.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So that is what I could do. And if anybody else has any other alternative preventive measures, they can say.
Sumit, any more questions? Sumit? I think that would be all from Sumit. Oh, Sumit. Continue, Sumit.
If I'm and I have a problem facing a cybercrime and he's far from like Goa.
Hello, Sumit, can you ask it again? Your voice is not clear.
Now I'm audible.
No, you are not audible. Hello, Sumit. Moreover, Sumit, जब तक आप अपना connection ठीक कर रहे हैं, I would like to call upon Shubham for he would wanted to ask this question. Shubham, over to you.
Thank you. I would like to ask a question from Shweta Arya ma'am, basically. So my question is related to the Gen X, the adolescent group, the college going, the youth group, basically, that is, that is more in engaged in the social media activities, and then these increasing number of nefarious activities have affected them. So there is a kind of psychological aspect of all these. So ma'am, media का कहाँ तक इसके इस क्षेत्र में रोल है, साइकोलॉजिकल जो भी इम्पैक्ट है in harassment के या extortions के whatever related to media. So ma'am, media कहाँ तक इसमें awareness फैला रही है? Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, first we need to understand the concept of media. The social media platforms are being used for the cyberbullying or digital harassment, right? So the social media platforms owners needs to create their technologies in such a way that they should not be used for such activities. Everything has its positive and negative usages. And the other role of media comes in generation of awareness. Media can generate the awareness in two ways. First, covering, giving lots of coverage to the people of reporting such incidences in their newspapers, magazines, websites, portals, or the televisions. I will not talk about the television here because I don't because television hardly covers such aspects. But the newspaper still gives coverage to such incidences. So indirectly, by covering such incidences or the survey reports, media creating awareness, and directly also media can create the awareness by by aggressively starting a campaign. There are lots of media houses who runs campaign on various issues. So this is another issue, and very serious issues which has direct influence, which directly attacks and suffers our new generation. That is, as you said, the generation Z, which is very vulnerable. So there is a need by the media to create an awareness by creating some awareness campaigns. Any media house can do this. The film industry start making films or the series related to this, or the documentaries. India has still India lacks the documentary culture, but documentary has its own influence. The documentary needs to be made in this. So in this way, media can play its role. But ironically, though the coverage have already been, though the media gives the coverage, but it is not up to that level that it should be. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
If I'm talking about Shubham, I would like to include one more point, is that the use of social media. People use the social media for harassing the other people. So like the Bhumika Trust using this platform, the Zoom platform, which is a technologically driven and internet driven. So we can use the social media platforms to create awareness amongst the people. Okay. Social media has a very vast reach, and in real time it reaches. In very short span of time, it spreads the information to masses. So we should use the social media platforms even as a layman. Can use the social media platforms for generating awareness towards this issue rather than harassing the people, right? So it's totally up to us how we are using the media platforms, what type of content we are consuming from the media platform, and what type of coverage being given by the media for any particular issue, talking about this, the digital harassment.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your opinion.
Thank you, ma'am. Sumit, do you want to ask any questions? Okay, I think it is over. No more questions. So if anyone has question, they can just directly contact on Bhumika Trust email ID. We will ask the panelists and answer you as soon as possible. Okay. Now I would like to call upon Shubham to give the vote of thanks. Shubham, over to you.
Thanks again, Namrata. Okay, all the panelists and the participants present over here. It was a wonderful session. As for it was far more from expectation, because people came forward and some of you asked question, and then our panelists who tried to draw the various views as the glances on the digitalization of the harassment, the topic that was presented by Bhumika Trust. Our panelists like Mrs. Shikha Verma, who basically shows us the statistical data, and she also mentioned the forum, including the then coming forward the Vivek Kumar Gaurav sir. He in a very detailed way he talked about the sextortion and the main targets, the organized crimes and data entry fraud, and the most important topic to be noted over here was the lack of awareness among the administrative body. That is a one need of time right now. Like हम बोल सकते हैं कि गवर्नमेंट बॉडीज को अभी बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत है इस चीज की कि वो इसके लिए सशक्त रहें, अपने आप को आगे बढ़ाए, अपने आप को अवेयर करें, एंड इवन एज फ्रॉम द role as a citizenship too, we too need to be aware about this topic, and we have to talk it openly, and held programs so that people get to be aware about it. Okay, and coming over to the next was Shakshi Khanna ma'am and Shweta Arya ma'am, and then there was Daniel Abdullah sir. All of them described about the media role and exponential rise in the digital crime, the statistical data, and the main reason behind all these crimes was like basically concentrated towards the 80, like as Sakshi ma'am pointed out, was 88% of the breaches was actually due to the human errors. So इन चीजों के प्रति जो हमारा जो जागरूकता है वो बहुत कम है, और हम चाहेंगे कि आगे जो भी हमारे लोग जो भी हमसे जुड़े हुए हैं और उन लोगों से जुड़े हुए जो भी लोग हैं वो अपने आप को सशक्त करें, अपने आप को अवेयर करें, जागरूक करें इन चीजों के प्रति कि मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस में हम ही मतलब ह्यूमन एरर ही रिस्पॉन्सिबल होता है हर चीज के लिए. सो थैंक यू ऑल, वन एंड ऑल प्रेजेंट ओवर हियर. ओके, एंड इट वाज अ वार्म evening, I can say, even due to some negligences and scarcity of the network connection and everything, but I think we went well. Okay, everything went good. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all the teachers. Thank you all the panelists for coming over and sharing your precious time with us. Thanks again. Over to you, Namrata.
Thank you, Shubham. Okay, except the member of the Bhumika Trust, everyone can leave, and participants, please fill the feedback form. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I would like to quote thanks to the Bhumika Trust for organizing such an event, and making us a part of this event is more important for us, so that we can share whatever we have, and helping us to make students aware about these current issues. Thank you so much. Thank you, Namrata, and thank you the entire organizing team of Bhumika Trust.
Thank you, ma'am. Are all the members here? Ajayant, you can stop the recording, please. Okay. आज के लिए इतना ही होगा मेरे ख्याल से. ठीक है?
Yeah, ठीक है, then I think we should leave, right?
कुछ काम वाम है, कुछ है?
I think Jayant is kind of busy, or I think he's somewhere
अरे
outside.
वो
Okay.
है नहीं वहां पर. मेरे ख्याल से मैं बंद करना पड़ेगा मुझे.
Yeah. So like ठीक है. Okay. Thank you everyone. Thank you team.